New batch. Egypt, 1934 World Cup. Egypt became the very first African nation to compete at the World Cup in 1934 in Italy. 4 years prior, they could have become the first African nation earlier and one of the original 13. Unfortunately, because of a storm in the Mediterranean Sea, they missed their boat and wasn't able to make the trip to Uruguay. This time around, Italy being a lot closer, Egypt was able to cross the Mediterranean Sea and compete at the second World Cup. But before then, Egypt did need to qualify. Egypt was in a group of three originally with Turkey and another team, Palestine British Mandate. That team would eventually become the current Israel national team, though there is also a Palestine team as well. Both playing in different regions. One in the AFC in Asia, that's the Palestine team, and Israel in the UEFA zone in Europe. Anyway, back with Egypt. So Egypt were able to defeat Palestine British Mandate home and away. Turkey, on the other hand, they withdrew, and with Egypt's two wins, they were able to qualify for the World Cup for the first time. Egypt were one of the unseeded teams. They went up against Hungary, who were a seeded team who were also making their debut at the World Cup for the first time. This match, like all the other 7 games, were all played at the same time. The game between Egypt and Hungary took place in the Stadio Giorgio Ascarelli, named after a businessman. The stadium would later be known as Stadio Partenopeo. Quick fact about this stadium: no longer exists, no longer around. During World War II in 1942, it was heavily bombed and no longer exists. But 8 years prior, Egypt and Hungary competed against each other in the round of 16 of the 1934 World Cup. Hungary had a good start to the games, leading 2-0 in the first half, thanks to a goal from Teleki, making him Hungary's very first goal scorer, and a goal from Toldi, making it 2-0 for Hungary. Egypt was able to bounce back. Abdulrahman Fauzi became Egypt's very first goal scorer at the World Cup, which also makes him the first African player to ever get a goal at the World Cup. And he's doubled his tally, scoring another goal, making it 2-2 in the first half, which also makes him the first African player, the first player from Egypt to ever score 2 goals in a game. But in the second half, Hungary restored their 2-goal lead, thanks to a goal from Vinks, making it 3-2, and Toldi scored his second for Hungary, which did knock Egypt out of the competition. Fauzi for Egypt was denied a goal, which would have made him the first player to ever score a hat-trick for Egypt and for an African nation. To this day, there still hasn't been a player from Africa who has scored a hat-trick at the World Cup. Regardless of the defeats for Egypt, they did have a great showing for a debuting nation at the World Cup. They themselves, though, in the 1938 World Cup, they actually withdrew from the qualifying rounds. And Egypt didn't return to another World Cup till the World Cup was again hosted in Italy in 1990. And though Egypt has the most African Cup of Nations wins, they've only ever qualified for 3 World Cups, the other World Cup being in Russia in 2018. With the 2026 World Cup having a total of 48 nations, including a total of 9 and a possible 10 nations from Africa competing at it, Egypt most likely will compete at more World Cups in the future and possibly go even further. Anyway, thanks for watching, listening. Appreciate it as usual, and bye.